Hey everybody, Steve here from PC Budget Solutions. This is my probably second video that has been up on the channel in a long time. As you guys hopefully have seen my last video, I'm back. I have projects. They may not come super fast. There might be a week or so between projects, but bear with me. But as you most likely saw, the case review, probably a little bit not as refined as I would like it, but this isn't a massive unboxing. This is a build log, and it's a build log of something I've wanted to do for a while. So I'm going to take you guys through a $500 gaming computer. Yes, I've built one before, but this one's a little different. This one's in 2018. I don't want to spoil the specs, but it's also going to lead to a performance review between this and another $500 gaming computer. So let's see what we got. Disclaimer: do as I say, not as I do. I'm not really set up for this yet, but just, do as I say, not as I do. But let's take a look and see what we got. So when I say do as I say, not as I do, what I mean by that is don't unbox on carpet wearing socks. Always try to promote a static-free environment. Wood is ideal. Make sure the humidity is lower in the house. Mine's a little bit higher, so I'm going to have to be extra careful. And just note there's an inherent risk if you're not really pushing for a static-free environment, you could end up shocking a part and basically killing it. So keep that in mind. Always be in static-free environment as much as you can. But let's take a look at the star of the show, and that's Ryzen 5, but with Radeon Vega graphics. So yes, this is a 2400G. I want to get my hands on this for a while. Now, this is like Christmas for me here. I haven't had a new 8 box here in a while. So we got power supply. This is going to be power supply we're going to use for both systems. It's a BQ 500 by EVGA. Pretty inexpensive, pretty reliable, no problems there. We have a 240 gig SSD. We are going SSD only. This will be for boot. We'll have a mechanical drive to play the games off of. I have DDR4 memory by G-Skill. I went with 3000 megahertz because I know that Ryzen can handle that. I got, this is the board I'm going to be using for my actual build, but for this we're going to be using it here. It's the ASRock B450M Pro 4. So we have that going on. And finally, it is downstairs, and I'll go ahead and grab it and show it to you guys, the graphics card. And here we go, EVGA GTX 1050. I just went with the least expensive one for the build, but that's not going in here. So let's take a look at what we're up against. Dun 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 dun. Okay, not really. Ignore this, so we're going to go ahead and remove this. This is an RX 550. And here we have one of the most popular processors in recent history. Under here is a G4560. And we're going to pair that with the GTX 1080 later. GTX 1050 later. And then we're going to put that up against the 2400G. But let's go ahead and get this computer built, and then we can do tests. As I said in the disclosure video, please do as I say, not as I do. I do not want anybody to be frying any computers, motherboards, whatever have you. So just please don't do this on carpet with socks in a very humid environment. Just not really ideal conditions by any stretch. But without further ado, let's get started. So outside the motherboard box is not, outside the motherboard anti-static is not anti-static, but on top of the box is. So we're going to go ahead and work on there. Even I practice as much safe installation as humanly possible. So we're going to go ahead and go with that. For those of you that have not installed a Ryzen CPU before, it's actually quite easy, believe it or not. You lift this little guy up right here. I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see it a little bit better. So once we lift this up, we're going to take the CPU out of the holder. And there is a notch. And it's a gold notch right there. And it's going to line up with an arrow, right here. So we're going to spin this guy around a little bit. Now with AMD CPUs, they require no force. Once you line it up and let go of it, if it doesn't drop into place, it's not lined up, just slightly move it until it drops into place. And bam, there you go. It is ideal to check your motherboard manual, which one is ideal. For Ryzen, it's usually 2 and 4. It's not going to always be the case, though. We have a 16 gig kit here, so we're going to go ahead and get this installed. Now the trick is there is a notch right here, and it has to match up with a notch on the motherboard. And then you do want to lift up the motherboard, put your hands under it so you don't want to put too much flex on the board. There you go. As you can tell, it's been a little bit since I've installed RAM. Since I've done anything computer related, that matter. Other than working for a cybersecurity company. There we go, you're in there. And we're going to go ahead and get the cooler on next. So, for this particular cooler, and I still don't understand to this day, but AMD makes it so you actually have to remove the stock mounting. I don't know why. That's AMD's thing. You would think the stock mounting would be the preferred mounting, but nope, that's not AMD. I love AMD, guys, but I still don't understand that one. The fact that more of your aftermarket cooling solutions use it, but not your stock ones. But anyway, let's get these two off. Now, we're just going to use the pre-applied thermal paste that's actually on the cooler. Yes, I recommend getting something decent, especially for long-term use. There's a couple of different ones. You can get ones more geared towards cooling. That'll save you a couple degrees, but you'll have to replace it more often. There's ones that you can get that's really geared towards long-term, but the cooling may not be as well. Just a couple things to note. There are 4 retention screws right here. They line up with the 4 spots on the board. So this can go one of 2 ways. I generally like to get the longest possible run to the header up here. So I actually don't think there's really one longer way versus the other. So we're just going to put it there. We're not lined up yet, but cool. So that'll reach. So what you'll want to do here is you'll want to tighten. Just get the screw started on each one, and you want to do it in a cross pattern. That's just going to avoid unneeded flex on the board. Not that I've ever damaged the board like that, but just in general, that's really, really good advice to follow on that regard. And you'll just continue to tighten the cross pattern here. What I do is I lift up the board and actually get it to meet a little bit better. The good thing is it pretty much just stops turning, so there's not a lot of concern with over tightening, thankfully. There's that. Then we're going to take this, we're going to make a little loop out of it to reduce the distance, and then we're going to look at which one's listed CPU, and that's the top one here. Just shows on the board. And there we go. We're plugged in. So now we're ready to, again, get her installed in the case, and then we will finish up here. There's not much more to do outside of that, and we'll make sure she works. So, while I may have given this case a pretty good rating, some things still bother me. There's no resealable bag for the screws, unfortunately, but we're going to go ahead and get this I/O shield installed here. There's not a lot of pre-installed standoffs. That kind of surprised me a little bit here. Okay. Now, I already kind of know which ones I need. Looking at the board here, I'll take a look and show you guys. So, in looking at it, we need one down here, one there, one there, one there, one up top, one over here, and we also need one over here. So, there's definitely a couple more we need to install here. So, when you look at what's already installed, we have one up here at the top, we have one there. So, we need to get one over here. Not all MATX cases or boards need that by any stretch, but this one does. This is a little wider case. Now I'm literally just putting them in. I'll actually have to screw them in a minute. Now at least Cooler Master gives you things you need for it, so I'll give them that. What I mean by that is this tool, I can go around it with a screwdriver on the other side. So I wish I could tell you there's an easy way of getting that last standoff in, but no, it just took a lot of work and angling. So, well, it's in. That's all that matters. Let's go ahead and get our motherboard in here. Make sure that we line up with all the standoffs, which we pretty much do. And then we'll take a look at our motherboard screws here. It looks to be all the same, actually, which is nice. It's really annoying when the motherboard screws are slightly different than the rest. So we'll grab these here. Like one or two short. There we go. And you always generally want to start with the middle, if possible, because that will kind of get it somewhat secured and centrally located, to say the least. So that is exactly what I'm going to do. Luckily this screwdriver has a little bit of magnetism in it. I don't normally recommend screwing it all the way down. I kind of did for the first one. And that's just to kind of be a placeholder. It can bite you in the butt. So just, kind of a warning there. And I can't tell you how many times I have taken motherboards out because it didn't line up. Fun. Just like that top one in the corner may give us some trouble later, as the standoff gave us trouble. But how many computers I've taken apart because of fit issues or standoff issues, yeah, I don't want to go down that memory lane, to be honest. Let's just say it's been enough. Probably maybe a quarter of my builds, especially in the early day, something like that happened. So, okay, so I'm now going to tighten these in a cross pattern here. Surprisingly, that didn't give us any trouble. That one's good. That one's good. Oh, I forgot one. Now, the problem with forgetting one, if you do forget one later on, is that it can short the board because there's metal touching, and if it moves around and not making good contact all the time, that can cause a problem. So that one's good. That one's good. That one's good. Cool. Motherboard's in. If you don't believe me, got all screws in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So just a quick update. So this is the power supply. It's a BQ 500. One thing that's pretty cool is look how much power is on the 12 volt rail. 499.2 watts. Not the best power supply on the market, but for $500 build, can you complain? We have semi-modular. No, I don't think it actually came with these zip ties. I think that was the case, but can't really complain. But there was a power supply bracket. You had to unscrew from the back of the case here. There was four bolts, and then it came off, and then you attach it to the back of the power supply, and we can slide this bad boy in. Full disclosure, this is probably the 4th take on this video because it took me a while to figure everything out, and then once I did figure everything out, I started doing stuff backwards and forwards, and actually not forwards. If it was forwards, and I probably would have actually not had to do multiple takes, right? But regardless, I'm just going to get a couple of these started. I'm going to show you what I'm doing here. Actually, I'm going to get all 4 of them started, then I'll show you guys what I'm doing, rather. Okay. There we go. So you guys can see. So these are where I took the bracket off in the first place here. last one here. Bam, power supply's there. At this point, let's get the SSD mounted and finish her up. So this one's going to be hard to show you because I'm doing the last one. But what I did was the longer screws go through these like this. And then the SSD goes on the other side. And then we'll tighten this one all the way down. I'm actually thinking they need to move over first before I tighten them all the way down. Yep. And we'll go ahead and tighten these bad boys down here. Bam. SSD is, hold please, installed. So some of the advantages of working with a small case, especially without a graphics card, it's just easier to route things sometimes. So I'm actually taking the 8-pin, and there's a spot up in this corner that you can actually route the cables through. So I'm just going to leave that hanging for now. And then we're going to use this opportunity to take our 24-pin, or 20 plus 4. We're going to just kind of do a placeholder there. Then we're going to take a look at these bad boys. So HD audio is going to be on the far side of the case. I don't think I can route it this way. No, there's no room. So I'm going to have to go down the bottom here just fine. USB 3, you'll want to come up through here. And then these guys are down here. So once you kind of have a general consensus of where you want to route everything, and again, we're lucky in regards that there's not a lot to connect. So first things first is this 4 plus 4, or the EPS, or the 8-pin, or whatever you want to call it. It goes up in this corner here. It's 2 pieces, so they both have to go in. So that is in. 24-pin, it's going to have to bend this way into here like such. That's in. USB 3 goes right up here. And what I'm probably going to want to do here is give us a little slack as possible. The HD audio is almost always in the bottom corner here. That's for a headphone microphone jack. And then we have the front panel. So let's make sure it's not labeled. I'll be a monkey's uncle, it is. So we're going to get this front panel hooked up and we'll be ready to go. Okay, so the only other thing I've done since is I got the front panel in, and I have a SATA power rather, and then all I need is the SATA connector here, SATA data connector rather, and then she should be ready to go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to route it this way. Now, it's bad to close her up and or serious cable manage before you're done, and consider about to kind of strip this computer apart and put other stuff in it. I'm not going to go through all that headache, to be honest. When I get to sell it, I will though. But let's make sure she works. So let's find out. It spins. Now, I've never worked with APU graphics before, so I don't know how it's going to take to post. So bear with me on this. It also doesn't help that this is on DisplayPort. There we go. We are on HDMI. Let's see what we got here. It's alive. Well, we're just going to have to wrap this up. It's getting late. So it's on. It's working. I'm off angle. It's late. My wife's going to say Cyclone Feven is back, and she won't be happy about that, but I'm dealing with it later. So this video, hopefully I can cut it down so it's not long, and the entertaining factor might be not great, but just getting back to the swing of things. Hopefully you guys will be interested in the matchup I have coming, and I don't know, there's a couple other things I can show you guys as well. But stay tuned, and as always, this is, get serious, Steve from PC Budget Solutions, and I'll see you later on down the road.